Steve Sarkisian may not be lying, but he may not be very bright either. What did he have to say? And by the way, please join Hooker's Corner. You get increased recruiting info. You get also prizes that we'll be giving away and better connection with me and Caleb Calhoun. So, Caleb, go ahead and set this up. What did Steve Sarkisian say?
So, Steve Sarkisian, the Texas head coach, was in an interview with Joel Klatt, a sit-down yesterday. And he was asked a question about NIL in recruiting. And he said what I think annoys everybody nowadays who is a realistic person, because everybody knows this is not true. And he's asking athletes to do something he himself wouldn't do. But also, he's not actually asking athletes to do this. But we'll get to that. But here's his response. It's a 30-second clip. I'm just going to show you what he said on Joel Klatt when asked about NIL. So let's just give the quick response real quick.
We've got an amazing product here. The history and tradition of Texas football is second to none. The education, the quality of education at UT is incredible. The coaching staff we have, the development of our players, the trajectory of what we've done from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 of our program, the city of Austin, all these things that we're talking about, that's why I want you to come to the University of Texas. NIL doesn't come up. That should be the last reason to choose to go to a school.
The last reason to choose to go to a school. Now, before we get going, I just want to bring up this. This is a clip I'm showing you guys of Texas recruits.
Lambos. By the way, for those on the audio platforms, we're seeing Lamborghinis that are not only in front of the Texas facility, they're also parked to just be displayed. And there's a Hummer. I mean, there's easily a couple of $1 million worth of cars here. Lambos are about $250,000. There's
that the
speakers,
athletes drive.
And there's speakers. Let me finish painting the picture real quick. And then there's support staff with shakers as they come into the facility. So what Steve Sarkisian said,
and that's for recruits, by the way, that's for prospective recruits visiting.
Right. That was over a visit weekend. You're right. So what Steve Sarkisian said sounds incredibly hypocritical, Caleb.
It's a flat out lie. It's a flat out lie. NIL should be the last reason you come to Texas. Now let me show you all these Lambos that these players drive as you come through a parking lot. And what? Like, first of all, newsflash, and this is not a bad thing. Do you think Steve Sarkisian took the Texas job because Austin was so great and the university had this, or did he take the job because it was a great offer and they paid him a lot of money? Of course he did it because they paid him a lot of money.
Well, he didn't have a lot. I mean, I didn't think he had a lot of choices at the time after what went down at Southern Cal. But no, he went there because they paid him a lot of money.
Yes, nobody picks schools because no coach picks schools because they love the university and, all the academics and what we can sell you. Yet they're asking players to do that. And so one, I hate that already. But two, he's not recruiting players using NIL. Texas has one of the largest NIL collectors in the country.
It would be stupid for him not to use it. Now, can I defend Sark for a second?
No, you defend Sark because you're one of the people who still believes in him.
I do. I think he's a good coach. He had a problem and he overcame it.
He might have been drunk when he said that. Sorry.
I think that he's right. And this is where NIL is going. Post Nico, I don't think Tennessee's going to be doling out big-time dollars for guys. Now, they're going to be doling out enough. I'll give you, for instance, I stopped at a Chick-fil-A. I saw 4 players there, and
Chick-fil-A, oh my gosh. Now just Jimmy Pruitt vibes.
Oh, I know. I didn't think about that. But they had enough money to go to Chick-fil-A. They didn't have to depend on the cafeteria or whatever. And I was like, man, I never used to see guys outside of campus. And it's probably because they got a little bit of money in their pocket. So everybody's going to get a base of, I've been told, around $60,000 to $80,000. Okay, the guys that you want. So they're going to be comfortable when they show up on campus. And then they better produce in a year or two. If they do, they'll get more money, the type of money that I think Sark's talking about. And if they don't, they might be shipped off because of the way coaches can just ship off players nowadays. So I think he's right. I think if a player decides to come to your school, and I think Tennessee had a baseball player that did that a couple of years ago, just because of money, you're not going to win a championship. So I'm buying this hook, line, and sinker. Call me naive and stupid if you like.
Yeah, when NFL teams sign free agents who chase the money, they never win Super Bowls when that happens. That never happens when you sign a free agent who went to you for the money when you open up the checkbook. That's just never happened, whatever, in the history of the NFL. I'm sorry, Dave, I disagree with you. Now, let me also say this.
That's fine. I think do you think I'm in the minority with Sark being high on Sark, or do you think – I think it's probably 60-40. I'm in the majority, actually.
I think you might be. I'm not saying Sark doesn't know football. I'm just saying this is wildly hypocritical. One, again, Texas has one of the top 5 NIL collectives. With the 12th man having to shut down at Texas A&M, they're probably second only to Tennessee at this point in NIL collectives. Texas saying this when their collective is so large and they are buying talent, Dave, that's like, you ever hear sometimes these multimillionaires or billionaires on TV be like, you shouldn't go through life thinking about money. Well, that's easy for you to say, okay? Like, you're a multi-billionaire. Like, so it's so annoying when one, you guys go through life thinking about money if you're a multi-billionaire. So don't tell me or Dave or anybody who's just trying to work a living to make a job, to make enough to enjoy life every day, that we shouldn't think all about money. I hate when rich people say that. So I mean, I despise it.
You and I are spending too much time together because I was thinking something along those lines this morning, as a matter of fact. But
Sarkisian saying that's Texas saying that.
But I'm not giving Sarkisian credit for saying that. I'm just giving him credit for being an average student. Because right now, if you haven't figured out the NIL plan that I just laid out, which is what it is, unless you're a first-year coach and you have to make a splash, that's going to be what it is. It's going to be, you have an entry-level salary, then you can make more if you're a superstar. That's going to be the way it is.
Ways, Dave. You're saying on both sides of your mouth.
Well, no, how?
Because you have defended Lane Kiffin luring all the NIL talent possible to Ole Miss, and they've only gotten that talent through NIL, Lenny. It's not like they're like, I want to go play for Ole Miss.
I don't think they'll win a championship because of that. I think when times get tough, I think that's why you saw somebody go from Ole Miss to Ohio State. Man, I think that they don't have great team chemistry because they went there for money, and they won't win a championship. Whereas if Sark is being real, and he might be duplicitous, as you inferred, they should win a championship if they've got that type of team chemistry too, of guys that want to be at Texas because it's Texas and not just to get a little coin. I'm not saying it's not a factor. Sure, it's a factor, just like distance. But I think you would agree, for the right job, distance wouldn't make up your mind, and a little bit of coin wouldn't make up your mind. At least I don't think so.
My position on this is everything's case by case. I think overall you're right. If you build a team where your entire team is totally based on NIL, yeah, you're probably not going to win a championship. I think NIL can be the get you over the hump to get a player. And I think sometimes you can get a couple of players specifically for NIL. If I'm going to make an example, look, I called it the great equalizer for Tennessee football. Tennessee can never, all things being equal, Tennessee will never recruit on the level of Georgia, never recruit on the level of LSU, never recruit on the level of Alabama. They're just not in enough of a football hotbed area to recruit that level. NIL is their equalizer. So if you're talking about a kid out of Georgia that would have gone to Georgia, but Tennessee offers them a little more money because they have the NIL collective to do it, and they get that kid, I don't think that means that they're not going to play as hard for Tennessee, honestly. I just don't.
So you don't believe in the whole notion. So this goes back to NIL. I'm going to draw a parallel between when people used to say, you got to get those in-state kids because they play harder in the fourth quarter when they're playing Alabama. So did you believe that with in-state kids? Because if so, you had better believe that with a lot of the prospects that Josh Heupel's getting, because now Josh Heupel's getting guys that are taking less money to come to Tennessee. I can tell you that for a fact.
Peyton Manning wasn't an in-state kid, and he was probably the hardest working player Tennessee football ever had.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But I would like a base. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but that's why it's all around case by case, and it goes all together. I mean, it's a confluence of factors. But I mean, I think that, again, Peyton Manning chose Tennessee. He didn't choose Tennessee. He chose it for a selfish reason. He chose it because he knew, I mean, it wasn't NIL, but indirectly it was, because didn't he choose Tennessee? Probably because he saw David Cutcliffe and said, that guy is going to get me ready for the NFL.